There is one modern fighter jet the United States simply will not sell, no matter how friendly the customer, no matter how large the check. The F-22 Raptor remains locked behind a legal export ban and a wall of classified technologies. For 2 decades, that single fact has created a vacuum in the global fighter market. Plenty of countries want Raptor-like air dominance, but the real Raptor is not an option. Turkey's Kaan is trying to fly straight into that vacuum. It looks familiar for a reason. Twin engines, canted tails, stealth shaping, internal weapons bays, and it is being positioned as a 5th-generation answer for nations that will never get an F-22. The real question in 2026 isn't whether Kaan resembles the Raptor. The question is whether it can become the first exportable F-22 style fighter that's credible in modern air combat. Kaan, formerly TFX and the National Combat Aircraft Program, is Turkey's bid to replace its F-16 fleet with an indigenous, stealthy, networked multi-role fighter. The project crossed the line from ambition to reality when the first prototype flew on 21 February 2024. That first sortie was deliberately conservative, about 13 minutes, roughly 8,000 feet, and about 230 knots, more proof of controllability than a performance show. A second flight followed in May 2024, and the roadmap points toward additional prototypes with more complete avionics as the flight test envelope expands into the mid-2020s. Even with limited official numbers, the aircraft's physical scale is becoming clear. Widely reported figures put Kaan at roughly 20.3 meters or 67 feet in length, around 13.4 meters or 44 feet in wingspan, and about 5 meters or 16.4 feet in height. Larger than an F-16 and closer in footprint to the big twin-engine air superiority class. Weight figures are less settled. Some public references cite maximum takeoff weight targets in the high 20-ton class, while others describe growth toward the mid-30-ton range as the design matures. The direction of travel is what matters. 5th-generation fighters need internal fuel, internal weapons volume, and electrical headroom, and those demands often push size and weight upwards as prototypes turn into production-ready aircraft. Published performance targets for Kaan are ambitious but should be treated as goals until the test program proves them. Figures discussed in the open include top speeds in the Mach 1.8 to 2.0 class, service ceiling around 55,000 feet, and fighter-style maneuver limits in the plus 9G range, supported by fly-by-wire controls and an airframe tuned for high alpha stability. Range claims also vary, but the intent is clear: internal fuel for long patrol time without hanging external tanks that would compromise stealth in the first days of a conflict. Propulsion is the most visible compromise of early Kaan. The prototypes use 2 General Electric F-110 engines, the same family used by many F-16 variants, because they are available, powerful, and well understood. That choice gets the jet into the air, but it's not the end state. Turkey is developing an indigenous high-thrust turbofan intended specifically for Kaan, the TF-35000, in the 35,000-pound thrust class. That number signals intent, a power plant category associated with heavy air dominance fighters. The catch is timing. Fielding a new fighter is hard. Fielding a new fighter and a new engine is harder. If Kaan transitions to a domestic engine in the late 2020s or early 2030s, it will mark a major leap in Turkish aerospace independence. Where Kaan aims to leapfrog more convincingly is sensors in electronic warfare. A 5th-generation fighter's real power is the way it detects, fuses, and shares information. Turkey's avionics roadmap emphasizes an integrated architecture rather than bolt-on boxes. Kaan's nose radar is expected to be an indigenous AESA family, often associated with the Murad 600A class radar for the fighter. Around that radar sits a broader integrated RF system intended to blend radar modes with electronic support measures and electronic attack functions, turning the aircraft into a node that can sense and shape the electromagnetic battlespace, not just point a beam forward. The electro-optical stack is equally ambitious. Publicly displayed components associated with Kaan include a forward electro-optical targeting system, an infrared search and track sensor for passive detection, missile warning sensors, laser warning receivers, and a directed infrared countermeasure concept to defeat heat-seeking missiles. The logic is classic fifth-generation thinking. Reduce emissions, detect passively when possible, fuse every sensor into one picture, and keep pilot workload manageable with a helmet-mounted display. Weapons, where the F-22 alternative argument gets tested. Internal carriage is the difference between a stealth fighter and a stealth-shaped fighter. Kaan is designed with internal bays to preserve low observability in the opening phase of a fight, then use external pylons when stealth is no longer the priority. Turkey's domestic air-to-air missile program is intended to give Kaan a locally controlled weapons pipeline. For within visual range combat, Bozdogan is described as an imaging infrared, high-agility, short-range missile with a range commonly cited as over 15 miles and a speed in the Mach 4 class. For beyond visual range engagements, Gokdogan sits in the same family effort. And a more ambitious concept, Gokhan, described as a ramjet-powered BV ram, has been discussed as a future step toward a larger no-escape zone at range. For strike, the program highlights internal bay compatibility for compact standoff weapons. SOMJ has been discussed for Kaan's internal bays, and newer variants tailored to internal carriage have also been reported. Public figures associated with one such internal bay cruise missile describe a weapon roughly 4 meters or 13 feet long, about 600 kilograms in mass, with a warhead around 230 kilograms and a range described as exceeding 250 kilometers or 155 miles. The strategic point is not the exact number, it's the mission profile. Low observable approach, internal carriage, standoff release, and exit before defenses can build a clean track. Now the comparison everyone wants: Kaan versus F-22. Visually, the lineage is obvious. Both are twin-engine, twin-tail, stealth-shaped fighters optimized for air-to-air performance, with internal bays and an emphasis on high-end kinematics. But similarity in silhouette is not similarity in capability. The F-22 is a fully mature air dominance machine with decades of refinement. It uses two F-119 engines in the 35,000-pound thrust class with two-dimensional thrust vectoring, giving it an extreme blend of acceleration, agility, and energy management. Official figures list a maximum takeoff weight of 83,500 pounds, a ceiling above 50,000 feet, Mach 2 class speed with supercruise, and a ferry range of more than 1,850 miles with external tanks. Unit cost has been cited at $143 million in official fact sheets. Its standard internal air-to-air load is 6 AIM-120 missiles and 2 AIM-9s, plus a 20mm cannon, an arrangement built for the first-look, first-shot logic that defines air dominance. Kaan is not there yet, and pretending otherwise would be bad analysis. In 2026, Kaan is still early in flight testing. Its stealth shaping is promising, but the real measure of low observability depends on coatings, inlet and exhaust treatments, and long-term signature management. Problems that only reveal themselves through years of testing and operational feedback. Its initial engines were not designed for a low observable platform, which can complicate infrared and radar signature management around the rear aspect. And while supercruise and high-end kinematics are goals, they are not yet proven the way the F-22s are proven. The bigger difference is ecosystem. The F-22 is not just a jet, it is a combat system. Training, tactics, sustainment, secure networking, software maturity, and a long list of refinements that do not appear in brochures. Kaan's hardest challenge is not build a stealth airframe. It's build the system that makes stealth and sensors worth having. Fifth-generation effectiveness depends on how reliably sensors fuse, how secure and resilient the data links are, how quickly software can be updated, and how consistently aircraft can be generated for operations. This is where the export question becomes the plot. The F-22 export ban has been anchored in U.S. law since 1998 via the OB Amendment language that blocks approval or licensing of sales to foreign governments. Allies have asked, and the answer has stayed no. That closed door is why any serious F-22 alternative has strategic value even before it matches the Raptor's full performance. Turkey is betting that Kaan can become the closest available answer. Not a clone, but an exportable twin-engine stealth fighter with internal bays, modern sensors, and a domestic weapons pipeline. International interest has already been publicized, including a headline export plan with Indonesia for dozens of aircraft, framed as the first export deal for the program even while development continues. Whether schedules slip or costs rise is an open question, but the signal is clear. Kaan is being positioned for customers who want fifth-generation class features without the political and legal limits surrounding the F-22. So who is better? Well, in 2026, the verdict is straightforward. The F-22 remains the superior air dominance fighter on proven performance, maturity, and the depth of its stealth and sensor integration. Kaan's advantage is different. It might be buyable, co-producible, and evolvable by customers who want industrial participation and long-term sovereignty over upgrades. For many countries, that matters almost as much as raw kinematics. Kaan's real competition is time. If Turkey can keep prototypes flying, integrate an indigenous AESA radar and a fully functional electronic warfare suite, validate internal carriage of domestic missiles, and transition to an indigenous high-thrust engine without collapsing cost and schedule, Kaan could emerge as the most Raptor-style option that is actually exportable. If the program stumbles, if signature management underperforms, if engines slip, if software integration drags, Kaan risks becoming a beautiful airframe that never reaches the full fifth-generation promise. The most realistic way to describe Kaan in 2026 is as a fifth-generation fighter program attempting two hard things at once: deliver a stealthy air dominance platform and build a sovereign ecosystem around it. Its resemblance to the F-22 is not accidental. It is a statement of intent about role and mission. The United States keeps the Raptor to itself. Turkey is trying to build a jet that could give other countries a taste of that category: stealthy, twin-engine, sensor-heavy air superiority, without needing Washington to open a door that has been closed for decades. If Kaan succeeds, it won't replace the F-22. It will replace the gap the F-22 created. The absence of an exportable air dominance stealth fighter with internal bays and a serious sensor and missile roadmap. That would be a genuine shift in global air power. Not because the aircraft looks like a Raptor, but because it could finally give the rest of the world something Raptor-like that can be bought, built, and evolved in the open. What are your thoughts on Kaan? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to our channel to get our latest videos straight to your notifications.